Hello everyone, you are welcome on this Swayam platform where we are dealing with a course that is Understanding Competition Law Theory and Practice. Now I am your instructor, Dr. Mayank Pratap, Assistant Professor, Faculty of Law from Banaras Hindu University. We are dealing with course from last 3 weeks and today we are entering in fourth module and the module name is Types and Subtypes of Anti-Competitive Agreement in India. The objectives of this particular module is to discuss the types of anti-competitive agreement, to understand the meaning of horizontal agreement and vertical agreement, and to discuss the provisions related to horizontal agreement and vertical agreement and other anti-competitive practices covered under section 3 subclause 3 and section 3 subclause 4. So dealing with this, now this is the fourth week and today we are entering in with lecture number 1 and the particular we will discuss today the types of anti-competitive agreement. And the objectives of today's session is to discuss the meaning of horizontal agreement and vertical agreement. So before going into detail, let's have I wish to remind you the previous lecture or the previous session where we have discussed the rule of interpretation. Actually, in last session, we have dealt with rule of interpretation, particular with per se rule. If you remember, there are two prominent rules to interpret the appreciable adverse impact on competition within India, and that is rule per se and rule of reason. If you remember, rule of reason is a rule which is known as the construction rule, where the commission or the judiciary or the any quasi-judicial body by interpreting such impact on adverse impact or negative impact on competition looks the negative and positive both aspect of rule of reason in the rule of reason. That means it is rebuttal. But on the other hand, the per se rule is a presumption. It is a rule of evidence where it is presumed that the particular agreement, activities, practice or conduct is fall within the meaning of anti-competitive practices. So the basic or key difference between the two rules is the rule of reason and rule per se, that the rule of reason evaluate the competitive effect of agreement conduct on case by case basis. On the other hand, the rule per se prohibits certain type of agreement or conduct that are considered inherently anti-competitive without evaluating their competitive effect. So with this, if we are going to discuss the types of anti-competitive agreement. However, we have already discussed the meaning of anti-competitive agreement in detail. But if you remember, we have categorized for the purpose of the session or the study with this particular course that there are 4 headings. The first, that is the general, where we have deal with subsection 1 and subsection 2 of section 3. And again, we have discussed the horizontal agreement in 3 subsection 3 and vertical agreement, that is 3 subsection 4, and the exception or exemption, that is 3 subsection 5. So today we are dealing with the what is the basically difference between section 3 subclause 3 or section 3 subclause 4. The basic difference is section 3 subclause 3 is about such agreement which falls within the meaning of horizontal agreement, and section 3 with means the agreement which comes within the meaning of vertical agreement. So basically there are 2 types of agreement, that is anti-competitive agreement within the meaning of competition law. So anti-competitive agreement as per the Competition Act 2002 are categorized in 2 main types: horizontal agreement and vertical agreement. Horizontal agreement involve the collaboration between the competitor operating at the same level of production or distribution. On the other hand, if you like to see some examples like the price fixing, it is output restriction, market sharing and bid rigging. But on the other hand, if you see the vertical agreement, Vertical agreement, actually the agreement where it involves the collaboration or agreement between the same line of consumerism, that means the same line of supply chain, where it involves the collaboration between that means in same line between the up to down or down to up, like this is at the different level, you can say. So means the agreement or conduct or practice which comes between the different level of same production or distribution, including exclusive supply or supply distribution. It is like the tying refusal to deal agreement, and the both type of agreement can potentially harm competition and are subject to scrutiny under this act, that is Competition Act 2002. So you can say that is there are two type of anti-competitive agreement within this anti-competitive section, that is section 3, and that is horizontal agreement and vertical agreement. Horizontal agreement means such agreement where competitors are operating at same level of different supply chain at the same level of production and distribution. And the subtypes, we will discuss in detail the subtypes, but for general understanding, like the price fixing agreement, output restriction agreement, market share agreement, and bid rigging agreement. And the second is vertical agreement, and the vertical agreement means the agreement between the firms operating at different level of production of distribution. And just like the exclusive supply, exclusive distribution agreement, tying agreement, and refusal to deal. So with this, if you see the horizontal agreement and vertical relationship, you are seeing, if you are going in detail, the vertical agreement is an agreement where the different supply chain or is here, but at horizontal relationship, the agreement is on same level. That means manufacturing level to, suppose there are two supply chain, and in supply chain at first stage, in first supply chain there is manufacturer A, and on other hand there is manufacturer B. So if any agreement takes between the manufacturer with the manufacturer, that means at the same level, this is like the horizontal relationship. And on the other hand, the vertical relationship is a relationship which takes between the different level, means if the manufacturer A, that means under the supply chain A, the manufacturer comes into the agreement with retailer of the same channel or same supply channel, here you can see the agreement has taken between the different level of chain, that means in a single chain the agreement take place at different level. So this relationship is called vertical relationship. Meaning thereby there are two type of agreement, horizontal agreement and vertical agreement. Horizontal agreement actually takes place where only the say at the same level two or more than two or supply chain are eligible, but at the supply chain if it takes between the same chain at different level, it is like the vertical agreement, and if it takes between different chain but same level, that is horizontal relationship. So with this, if you are looking into some practical scenario, just check it with some practical problem. Suppose Amit's Electronic, a leading manufacturer or smartphone, enters into an agreement with its competitor, Raj's Mobile and Kumar's Telecommunication. The agreement restricts the production of a smartphone to 1 million unit per year for each company. Additionally, Amit's Electronic also enters into an agreement with exclusive distributor, Vishal Distributor, to supply a smartphone only to Vishal Distributor and not to any other distributor. Now the question is, identify the types of agreement, whether it is horizontal or vertical in each scenario. See, in the scenario one, actually what happened, Amit Electronic enters into agreement in competitor with Raj Mobiles. At the agreement, they restrict the production of smartphone to 1 million unit per year for each company. So in that scenario, agreement between Amit Electronic and Raj Mobile and Kumar Telecommunication, and the second scenario is whether Amit Electronic also enter into agreement with exclusive distributor with Vishal. That means agreement between the Amit Electronic and Vishal distributor. Now if you try to analyze the solution, you will find under scenario 1, the agreement is horizontal agreement. That is in scenario 1, that is horizontal agreement because it is an agreement between competitor, that is Amit Electronic, Raj Mobile and Kumar Telecom, and they are operating at same level of production. So this is horizontal agreement. And in scenario 2, the agreement is a vertical agreement because it is an agreement between manufacturer and distributor. That means in same chain at a different level. That means they are operating at different level of production and distribution. So you can see this problem illustrate the key difference between horizontal and vertical agreement, and the key difference are: horizontal agreement involve collaboration between competitor operating at same level of production or distribution, and the vertical agreement involve agreement between the operating in different level of production such as manufacturer at distribution, generally in same level of supply chain. So let's see the details of horizontal agreement. Horizontal agreement is basically covered within the provision section 3 subclause 3. Competition law usually places anti-competitive agreement in two categories, namely horizontal agreement and vertical agreement. And the Act not used the term horizontal agreement and vertical agreement. However, the language used in the Act suggests that agreement referred in section 3 subclause 3 and section 3 subclause 4 are horizontal and vertical agreement respectively. Section 3 subclause 3 and section 3 subclause 4 are the main provision which are mainly attracted to prove the existence of any anti-competitive agreement, and section 3 subclause 3 deals with certain specific anti-competitive agreements, practices and decision of those supplying identical or similar goods or services acting in concert. For example, agreement between manufacturer and manufacturer or supplier, and also includes such action by cartel. If you see the meaning, what we are saying that actually the meaning of or the definition of the horizontal agreement or vertical agreement is not given under the Act or anywhere. But if you see the horizontal, general meaning of horizontal, what we are discussing, the agreement between the same level of supply chain in a different supply chain. If you see the dictionary meaning, as per the Merriam-Webster dictionary, horizontal agreement is like, it is an agreement among economic competitor on the same level of production or distribution. That means horizontal agreement are those between competitor entity at the same level of distribution. Horizontal agreements are agreement between the enterprises at the same stage of production chain, and it is generally between two rivalry, either fixing for price or for limiting the production or sharing the market. And in all such competition, there is a presumption that the Act is have certain effect like appreciable adverse impact on competition within India. And cartel is a word which is also defined in this Act, but we will take it as in detail. But for general understanding, cartel is a type of horizontal agreement, and this is generally between producer of goods and provider of services for price fixation or sharing of market, and it is generally regarded as most pernicious form of anti-competitive agreement. Section 3, subclause 3 provides that an agreement would have appreciable adverse impact on competition if there is a practice that is carried on or decision that has been taken between any of the parties mentioned above, that means including cartel, engaged in identical or similar trade of goods or provision of service, and that can either in a form directly or indirectly determine for the sale or purchase price. If it is for to limit the production or control the production or supply, market, technical development, investment or provision of service. That means if such type of agreement is agreement which pushes the limits or try to control the supply, production or the technical development, that will comes within the meaning. The shares, the market or source of production or provision of service by way of allocation of geographical area of market or types of goods or services or number of customers in the market or any other similar way, and directly and indirectly result in bid rigging or collusive bid rigging. So these are the provisions regarding the horizontal agreement, and there are a presumption that any of this agreement which if take place, whatever what we are reading in A, B, C and D, that means it is like the anti-competitive agreement. If you see the types of horizontal agreement, you can say the subtypes of agreement, that is types of horizontal agreement. Section 3, subclause 3 presumes that there are 4 type of agreement between enterprise involved in the identical or similar trade or provision of service have an appreciable adverse impact on competition. So again you see in a general words, or you can see in a simplest form, you can say there are 2 type of agreement. First, that is horizontal agreement, and second, that is vertical agreement. Horizontal agreement is section 3 subclause 3, vertical agreement is section 3 subclause 4. Difference between horizontal agreement and vertical agreement is horizontal agreement means agreement which take place at the same level. That means there are 2 different supply chain and it takes a same. That means if manufacturer of A and manufacturer of supply chain B, if any agreement takes place between this is like the horizontal. And the vertical agreement is a agreement where it takes place at different level of same supply chain. Suppose there is a supply chain where manufacturer A enters into the distributor or retailer of same supply chain, that is called vertical relation or vertical agreement. And here we are focusing on horizontal agreement. Horizontal agreement generally means what we have discussed, and there are certain types of horizontal agreement. Basically, there is no definition and you cannot categorize, but you are categorizing because if you see section C subclause 3, it is like it includes certain types of A, B, C and D, what we are discussing. Directly and directly determine the sale or purchase price, limit or control the production, share the market allocation, or directly indirectly involved in bid rigging. So these are particularly A, B, C and D, what we are discussing here is basically the type of horizontal agreement, or you can say horizontal agreement can be categorized in 4 type, and you can say the subtype of horizontal agreement is price fixing agreement, output restriction agreement, market sharing agreement or bid rigging agreement. And for general understanding, the price fixing agreement means any agreement where the agreement takes place between the competitor to fix price, discount or other term of sale. We will discuss in detail. Output restriction agreement means a such agreement where it take place among the competitor to restrict our output production. And market share agreement are the agreement among competitor to divide market or allocate customer. And like this, bid rigging agreement are the agreement which take place among the competitor for bid rigs or manipulate the bidding process. So the horizontal agreement is an agreement which takes place between the same level of different supply chain, and it can be categorized into 4 types: price fixing, output restriction, market sharing, and bid rigging. But the problem is this is not absolute. That means there are some exception. There are some horizontal agreement which may be exempted if they improve or production the distribution. If the agreement is took place for the purpose of to promote technical and economic progress or do not impose any significant restriction, means the some horizontal agreement may exempted if the agreement that improve production distribution as a joint research and development may exempted. If the agreement is like for the purpose to promote technical or economic progress such as standard setting agreement may be exempted. If the agreement is such type of agreement that do not impose significant restriction on competition, that may be exempted. So in conclusion or summary, what we can take from this particular topic, that any agreement entered into between enterprises or association of enterprises or person or association of person at the same level of production chain. Horizontal agreement under competition law refer to the collaboration between the competitor that can be potentially harm competition and consumer. That means such agreements are prohibited under the Competition Act 2002 unless that meet for a specific exception. What exception we have already discussed. So, if you took this session, you can take out from this session that there are 2 type of agreement, that is horizontal agreement and vertical agreement. Horizontal agreement are such agreement where the competitor meets in form of conduct or practice or in form of understanding or such type of agreement at the same level of different supply chain for fixation of price or restricting the competition or for geographical market allocation or bid rigging. That is not only, that is inclusive. So you can say the horizontal agreement are generally 4 type of agreement which can take place between the competitor for the purpose fixation of price, restrict the market and allocation of market sharing or bid rigging. And there are some exception obvious what we have discussed here. So with this session, what we are taking that horizontal agreement and vertical agreement are 2 type of agreement, and under horizontal agreement there are specifically 4 type of agreement, and that is the agreement which is regarding the price fixation agreement or other type of the market sharing or restricting the competition or bid rigging. So with this we will continue this discussion in next lecture with price fixation agreement, where we will discuss the meaning of price fixation and how price fixation agreement comes within the meaning of horizontal agreement and what is the result of any price fixation agreement, whether it comes within the meaning of anti-competitive agreement or not, and if, how and what are the process to analyze. So with this, thank you for this today's session. Thank you.